Yo, what is good, everybody? So we have something urgent. Cabinet meeting came up, and as you guys can see, Trump cut his hair. But I've heard that they do ask him a couple things about Epstein during this, so let's find out.
Are you able to get them all in the room? Are they in?
Yes, sir, they're in.
Are you okay? Thank you very much. We've had a tremendous 6 months, and we've had a tremendous 2 weeks, which now is, I guess, 3 weeks. And we have a tremendous group of people here that have done a great, unified, beautiful job. I want to, in particular, because of what she's gone through this last few days, done an incredible job. As you know, Christy, I'm going to ask you to say a few words about Texas. The first person there was first person I saw on television was you, actually. And you've worked great with the governor, who's terrific. And you might want to tell a little bit about the trials and tribulations, but we appreciate the job that you and everybody have done. You had people there as fast as anybody's ever seen, so really appreciate it. We all do, and maybe you could say a few words.
Sure. Well, thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank you for your leadership. Texas is strong, and the people of Texas are incredibly strong. They've gone through something that is absolutely horrific, and it is heartbreaking to watch these families suffer the way that they are. As soon as this flash flooding event happened, you know, the governor has activated his emergency responders. Nim Kidd is his emergency management director, who is incredible, and has immediately worked with the local first responders to get help to individuals and get them evacuated, put requests in to me. We deployed, sir, right away, as you know, because you and I were talking a lot during this time, the Coast Guard. We also had some assets out of Customs and Border Protection. Our board TAC teams went in and helped with rescues and clearing debris so that we could get roads open and people get the help that they need. I think when I got there the most, sir, that day, as soon as I arrived on site, was getting a briefing from all the emergency responders, was just how unified.
What's good,
they
everyone
were
just now coming in?
in focusing on the fact that
We're getting
there to
right
save
into it.
lives. They were there to rescue people, find people who were still alive, and to reunify them with their family members. We as a federal government don't manage these disasters. The state does. We come in and support them, and that's exactly what we did here in this situation. FEMA went to an enhanced level immediately, but as soon as you signed the major disaster declaration, we were able to get them resources and dollars right away, just like you envisioned, through state block grants to help them with cleanup. And we're still there in presence, and FEMA's been deployed, and we're cutting through the paperwork of the old FEMA, streamlining it much like your vision of how FEMA should operate, and it's been a much better response to help these families.
So for those of you just now
get
coming
through
in, this is a
terrible
cabinet
situation. We
meeting
still are looking for
that just happened today, and I have heard that they asked him about Epstein, so that's what I'm really excited to see.
We're camping along that
Right now
river.
they're just getting started. We
And,
just started it.
They will continue until they find every single person, and we will continue to help them and assist in that. I was surprised when I got there at the camp that day, right after this happened, the parents that were there, the parents that were looking for their children and picking up their daughter's stuffed animals out of the mud and finding their daughter's shoe that might be laying in the cabin, and just hugging and comforting people matters a lot. I'm extremely grateful for God's hand in that whole situation, because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were saved. And
Oh, wait.
this is
You
a
guys can't
time
even
for
see
all
it.
of us in this country to remember.
Look at his
that we
haircut.
were created to serve each other.
Look at homie's
God
haircut.
created us to take care of each other, and that when we do that, we are happier, we are more fulfilled, and we can walk alongside people on their worst day and help them get through it and come out the other side, knowing that we can continue to live a life that God has purposed for us. So they're grateful for you. Several times the day after the flooding, you and Melania were on the phone with me, and I want to thank you for that. And that meant the world. I was able to tell many of those folks that I had been visiting with you, and that you had said, whatever they need, Christy, let's deploy it and get it down there and be helpful. And on Sunday, when the families were waiting at a church to identify their children's bodies, Franklin Graham and I called in and prayed with the families and read some scripture with them, and he was incredible in making himself available to that as well. We'll be back down there in a couple of days and continue to do all we can, but this is an unprecedented event. It really is. There's been tragedies like this around the country, but everyone is unique in different situations, and the response the federal government had supporting the state through this, I'm proud of the people that stepped up and immediately came. The Coast
I will say that what happened in Texas is an awful tragedy. I've seen a lot of posts about missing pets. I couldn't imagine missing family members. It's just not good. And the BBB did just come out, so we're looking at cuts to FEMA as well. But Trump did say he expects the states to pay a little bit more towards natural disaster relief as well. So hopefully all the states get behind that.
When they came in, they had a difficult time even getting the aircraft in and landed. They had to try several times in the weather to get it in and deploy. And I think we've heard about, our one Coast Guard member that was responsible for saving over 165 people, but that entire crew did incredible work. And all the first responders there did incredible work. And I know people are getting tired now, but they're getting reinforcements and volunteers are showing up. And I just want to commend the governor and his team for being the leaders. And they're so thankful that you're letting them make the decisions and manage the response like it should be. And then us supporting them with the resources of the federal government. We've already deployed dollars to the state, much like the block grants that you've talked about. Right. So they're grateful for that, sir.
There's never been a wave like this outside of the breaking of a dam. Because this was almost a wave that ended up being 30 feet high, more actually. Now with the dam you can understand it, but this approached almost with that speed. When you see a dam break, it's not a pretty sight. It wipes out everything, and this is the kind of thing that built up so fast. And it's happened 2 or 3 times before over the years, but not to this extent. But you tell them when you met the father who was picking up the daughter's clothing. And
I had walked through
so
the cabin where all the little girls died, and I had kind of fallen apart in there, but I walked out of the cabin, and a gentleman was standing there, and he said, that man over there needs a hug. And so I walked over to him, and I hugged him, and I said, do you work here? And he said, no, my little girl was in that cabin. And he said, and I just found her best friend about an hour and a half ago. She had passed away.
That shit's so fucking
and
sad,
he just
bro.
fell apart. And so then we just
Oh, chat, that
hugged
shit's
and
so
talked
fucking
for
sad.
probably an hour about that. But then there was another, the grandpa was there looking for his granddaughter as well. There was a dad there of one of the counselors.
It's so bad.
The counselor was alive, but she was dealing with the fact that she had hung on to some of these girls and was trying to keep them out of the floodwaters, and had gotten hit by something and had lost 2 of the girls, and wasn't able to hang on to them, and was going to live the rest of her life thinking about that moment when she wasn't able to hang on to these girls. But these parents were picking up their kids' belongings out of the mud and throughout the camp and putting them in bags, and then one of the dads said, I knew 50 of these girls here. So I knew that was her dress and my daughter's friend's dress. So he was picking it up and putting it in a bag to return to her parents. And so it was and then the director was there comforting everybody who had lost his father the night before too. And he was still there trying to facilitate all of these parents.
Yo, real deal.
Grieving their
Prayers
children
to the
and
people of
find them.
Texas.
So the strength of people.
Everyone in chat,
is
please pray for
incredible.
people of Texas.
One of the things that I asked there today, that day, was that they all have escorts or counselors when parents come in. So from that point, that when they came into the camp, that they have somebody with them when they're going and looking for their children's belongings or looking for their children. And so, very emotional, but also just so tragic. You don't.
Texas and the governor has been obviously very good for years with me, but the relationship with Texas and their first responders and us with our first responders and lots of other people, and we brought in a lot of helicopters from all over, and we had a lot of helicopters. It was actually dangerous, a lot of helicopters up there, but they were real pros, and they were responsible for pulling out a lot of people, and we got them there fast. And Texas had some good ones too, but the response has been incredible, and the fact that we got along so well, I don't know, I don't even think that's a political thing, but we got along so well, and it was so unified. I think a lot of lives have been saved. That could have been as bad as it was, and you could have lost double or triple. This thing was just really horrible. Well, congratulations on a great job, and I appreciate it. I know you're going down. I'll be going down on Friday with First Lady. We'll be taking a trip, and we don't want to get in anyone's way, because that's what happens. The president goes and everyone's.
I mean, he's on the verge of tears.
I don't want anyone to focus on us.
I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen Trump cry.
They could have somebody saved still. There's a lot of areas. It's a big area, and probably unlikely at this point, but there could be. They're thinking there could be a possibility, but what a tragic situation. A good job, and we'll see you on Friday, and we'll finish out the day.
Mike says, "Can I move? I'm covering up the hottie. I'm blocking Trump's five head. I'm helping him."
Terrible topic when you talk about financial after this, but we have a big country, and we've been doing very well. The tariffs, as you know, are starting to come in at record levels. Tremendous amounts of money are coming in to our country. We never did that before. We're not used to it. We only have tariffs going out. We only adhere to the rules of other nations who charge us tremendous tariffs because we were led by stupid people or people without any business sense. And I'd like to ask God, you could maybe talk a little bit about how well we're doing with regard to the money coming in. And the big money will start coming in on August 1st.
Wow, Narui, you're in Texas? Were you in one of the bad areas?
Sent out yesterday and today.
I hope everything's okay where you're at.
Yes, sir. We will have taken in about $100 billion in tariff income thus far this year, and that's with the tariff, the major tariff not having started till the second quarter. So we could expect that could be well over $300 billion by the end of the year. We don't agree with CBO scoring, but for those who do, the CBO scored tariff income over the next 10 years at 2.8 trillion, which we think is probably low. And sir, under your leadership, we're witnessing.
And they gave us no credit during this last little, the great big beautiful bill. I always use the word great. I add that to it because it really is what it is. It's never been anything like it, actually. And I want to thank all the Republicans that voted for it. And I want to, scold the Democrats because they're voting for tax cuts. They're voting for no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, and many, many other things far more important than that. Great health care. And frankly, every Democrat should lose their election because it was purely political vote. They were told not to vote for it. So think of it, we got 218-2, and then with the Senate, we had 50-3. Democrats didn't vote at all, not one positive vote, with all of the good things in there. Economic development money, tremendous border money. Now you're loaded up on the border, and I don't think we're going to need so much of it because we had zero come in last month, so I'm not sure how much of it we want to spend. You may think about that. You may actually think about saving a lot of money because the wall's been largely built. And it obviously works.
Yeah, not gonna lie, Chad. I'm waiting until they say something about Epstein in this.
So
I'm gonna make that the new
I think
poll.
it's incredible when I watch the Democrats, and they have standard lines like they had Russia, Russia, Russia. They had the laptop from hell. It all came from Russia. They make things up and they go with it, and they feed it to you people in many cases. And they said, "Here's a line," and I hear the new line is death. Oh, it's death. Everyone's going to die. Has nothing to do with that. In fact, we're saving our country. Death is from allowing 25 million people into our country, of which 3 or 4 are stone cold, hard criminals. 11,888 are murderers, many of them committing more than one murder. That's death, and the Democrats did that. Joe Biden did that by allowing people to come in here just totally unchecked, unvetted, open borders, open borders. The whole world was dumped into our country from prisons, from gangs, from mental institutions. We have many people walking the streets, walking in areas that we don't know anything about, that came out of insane asylums. They released their the insane asylum population into our country, and it's amazing the job that you and Tom Holman are doing, by the way, on that. But we have to get them out, and we have no choice. We have to get them out, and we
Looks
are
like
getting them out.
overwhelming too.
And
He
so,
shouldn't be our leader. New
Pete,
poll in
you
chat,
wanna
guys.
tell
Do you
them
think he's
about
on the
our great
Epstein list?
military and how well we did with respect to the bombers and the B-2? We had the pilots here 2 days ago, and they were incredible people. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Truly a historic mission, and demonstrated the skill and courage of the United States military. From those B-2 pilots and families that we had a chance to meet, sir, to the fighter pilots, to the refuelers, to the maintainers, to the air defenders who defended the base. What was demonstrated on the world stage was American military might and capability. And it wasn't just Fordo and Esfahan and Natanz that took notice in Iran. It was the rest of the world, that we have a decisive commander-in-chief willing to use these capabilities, which are the best in the world. As the president pointed out, no one else could have done what America did there on that night, and everyone took notice of that. With the one big beautiful
Yo,
bill,
what's
sir,
good,
we've got
Share Bear? I might as well mod you at this
$150
point.
billion additional to invest in Golden Dome and all the
Share
other
Bear,
weapon
honestly,
systems,
the OG on my
stockpiles,
politics
shipbuilding,
streams.
Priorities of yours. Another month, another historic recruiting bump. It's not just the Army and the Marine Corps anymore. It's the Navy, the Air Force, and the Space Force, all historically ahead of where they've ever been. So historic spirit inside the military. We had a chance to be at NATO. Mark
Amazon
and
thinks
see
I'm on the
how
Epstein list?
The world's
That's
response
crazy.
to us saying it's time for you to shoulder
That's
the
crazy.
burden and take the lead for your continent. That only happens with President Trump leading. And we're proud to be a part of what's going on at the border, sir, with now a fourth national defense area where we're helping get to that number 0 and securing the border. But that mission, Operation Midnight Hammer, re-established deterrence. It reversed what happened in Afghanistan. You saw the debacle of what Biden allowed to happen in Afghanistan and what that did to our image. President Trump said, with Operation Midnight Hammer, reestablishing American leadership and deterrence, and we're proud to be a part of it, sir.
And our so-called enemies were watching. They watched every minute of it. They watched. There was very few people that weren't watching, actually, but they watched every minute. It was a perfect military performance, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long
fucking
time.
fighting their camera
I mean,
guy
if you
trying to get this
compare that
angle on
to
Trump.
The same country, the hostages from years ago, Jimmy Carter. It was unfortunate for Jimmy Carter. He was a nice man, but with the helicopters going down, the sandstorms, the prisoners, they got captured, then the election and the prisoners and Reagan and all the problems. It was nothing but problems, and that was a failure. And ours was not only the pilots. I mean, those machines flew for 37 straight hours.
Jacob,
They
what are you
didn't stop.
talking about, bro?
They went skedaddle. You know the word skedaddle? It means skedaddle. They dropped the
We gotta let the
bombs,
president
and
talk.
Somebody said, skedaddle. Let's get the hell out of here. And every bomb hit its mark and hit it incredibly. And as you know, the Atomic Energy Commission said it's gone. That place is gone. We had a lot of fake reporting, mostly from CNN, where the scammer a writer for CNN, who should be fired, by the way. She was involved with the 51
Of course,
fake
it's
intelligence
CNN.
agents,
He wants
if
her
you remember
fired.
that. She did that story, created a story out of it. She created a story out of the
He's word
laptop
vomiting.
from
It's
hell,
Trump's specialty.
saying it came from Russia, but it actually came
I'm waiting
from
on the
Hunter
Epstein
Biden's
list. I know somebody's going to
bedroom
ask him
or
during
worse.
this.
Just a scammer, and she's still at CNN, which is pretty amazing. But we'll ask you a question about her. But they came up with this concept that maybe the attack wasn't that good.
Jacob, if you watch my
Maybe,
stream
and I saw
enough,
it
you'll know I
happen
do give
right
my
after the
opinions on my
attack. I saw
content.
this person on CNN. I actually watch. I like to watch the enemy.
Say you're new without
You learn
saying you're
from the
new.
enemy, and I watch because you have to know where they're coming from. And I watch her say, Anderson, you know, I'm hearing stories that maybe they didn't hit their target, maybe it wasn't that good a hit. And they were hearing stories. The next day it was a little more, and the next
He
day
sounds
a
like
little
his
more.
voice
After
is
3 or
going
4
out,
days,
doesn't he?
She was saying, you know, I don't know. I don't think it was that, except by that
Somebody
time
get Trump some
everybody knew
water.
it was hit perfectly. The evidence
Is that
was
a
in the
Four
planes,
Loko
the
he's
evidence
drinking?
the
Hell
pilots said
nah,
the
bro.
best
It's
evidence.
Arizona.
But they
What
actually
are you
came
talking
out of their
about?
plane because they were here the other day, and they said, it was so sad. We did such a good job. We flew into very dangerous airspace. I'll never forget, we were in the Situation Room, and they said they have entered Iranian airspace, and everyone took a deep breath because they had more missiles pointed at them, but the equipment is so good, it's stealth, way up in the air, and it was stealth, and they went right through that, and they sort of, by the time they found out they were there, they were already gone. That was the word skedaddle, get the hell out of here. But they were right in the most dangerous airspace in the world, and they took those big, beautiful, very fast, they're unbelievable planes. I mean, they become really beautiful works of art. You know, I always thought they sort of were cool, but now they look
Dude, I need a Red Bull.
better than just cool.
You mean
don't
Trump?
They, huh? But they
Yeah, he needs to wake
dropped
up.
the loads, and literally they would hit. If you look at this table from here to there, they had a half a refrigerator door is the way to best explain it. Take a refrigerator door, average size, cut it in half. That was their target. They hit every single one. Then we had 30 missiles, Tomahawk, shot from submarines 300 miles away. Every one of them hit their target. It was a perfect mission. Then they
I wish we
came
had
back.
footage of that to watch. That would have
Almost
been
37 hours.
dope.
Every plane worked perfectly. The mechanics were here too. I said, you got to get the mechanics here. We didn't have any problems. If you remember, they had a lot of problems with the helicopters, but they did fly through a dust storm, which they shouldn't have done. Sometimes you say, let's go back and try it on a nicer day. Dust and sand don't work well with helicopters if you know much about helicopters. But that was a horrible embarrassment to us. Then we had Afghanistan, which I think was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And we would have gotten out. I was the one that got
No,
out. I
but
would have
Pallet,
kept
I'm sorry, I
Bagram,
couldn't tell
the
you.
Air base, which right now is controlled
I'm
by
smoking a
China.
blunt. I've
One
long
among
since
the
lost
most
the
powerful
topic.
runways in the world.
Somebody's got to.
Thick with concrete and steel. Anything could land, and right now they were 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. I was keeping it. Outside of that, we were leaving, and I would.
So let me wrap my head around this. There's sand, but sand is bad because it's hard to land helicopters. But you know what is good? Steel. Good steel. And China deports steel. Like, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Been out faster than them, but we would have gotten out with strength and dignity. Instead, that was the most botched up mess I've ever seen. They left all that equipment behind, and every year they have a parade running down some third-rate street with the equipment. You know, it's supposed to be Fifth Avenue. It doesn't work. But with all that equipment that they left, they should have taken every ounce of it. I was taking every ounce. I said every screw, every bolt, every nail you take out of there. And Millie said, I remember one time, sir, we're better off leaving the equipment. Why?
What the
Well,
fuck
it's
are we
cheaper.
talking about?
It's cheaper. I mean, it's cheaper to leave.
Chat, I'm
on
losing my
$50
fucking
million
mind.
airplane rather than fly
I need to
into
stop hitting this
Pakistan
blunt,
or
dude. This
India,
I can't
someplace
smoke weed
where
and
he's
watch
flying
this
it
man with
straight
you
home.
guys.
Yes, sir. That's when I knew he was an idiot. Didn't take long
Somebody,
to figure that one
please.
out. But they left all that equipment, but they left their dignity behind. It was the most embarrassing moment, in my opinion, in the history of our country. Not that we got out. We should have not been there, but that we got out the way we got out with great embarrassment.
Are we talking
and
about
death.
Iran
Like
still?
13 young people. I've gotten to know their families very well, but you had hundreds of people killed that nobody talks about. Yet the other side, many people were killed. Many people are walking around with no legs, no arms from that.
Who the
whole
fuck
thing.
is walking
They
around
took
with
a
no
long
legs?
what They should have left from Bagram.
You
because
can't walk
Bagram
with
was
no
a big
legs.
base with hundreds of miles of fencing and territory around it. Nobody would be able to get near it, and they left. So we've done a great job. And I think people are really starting to
Holy
see it.
shit,
They're starting
Farmex,
to
thank you for the
appreciate
sub
it.
on
He's
YouTube.
done
Welcome in.
fantastically. That mission was a work of art. And I have spoken to some of our perceived, I don't know if they're enemies, but they're perceived as being potential enemies.
Our perceived potential
And they
enemies
essentially
are
said the same thing.
who?
Very impressive.
Russia,
There wasn't a thing.
North
we
Korea?
we didn't lose an engine. We didn't lose it. Just they landed.
Afghanistan?
They were cheered. But the sad thing was they were cheered, and one of the pilots said, we were a little concerned because when we got out, we were told that on television they were reporting that we may have missed our targets. Sir, we hit every target. That's what I do for a living. We hit every target. In fact, when the bombs hit, a yellow haze came over the horizon that I've never seen before. It just lit up the whole horizon, brighter than the sun. It was like looking into the sun. He goes, we hit our target, because you know what that was exploding. And
We're talking
but
about
they
the
were
bombing on Iran now. I'm
really
following here.
downbeat because they listened to that fake CNN reporting.
Yeah.
And the fake New York Times. They worked together.
Yeah, I know
to
all
try
about
and say
that. I don't know
it
what the fuck we were talking about at first.
Wasn't perfect. They couldn't say what they missed. All they could say is maybe it wasn't perfect, and you ought to fire that reporter immediately. You should fire her. Real fake. And so I just want to congratulate those pilots. And you know, a lot of people don't like bringing things
Hey,
like that up. I
yo,
do. I
Timothy
always like
Carl,
to
thank you for the
because
sub on
otherwise the
YouTube, my
public
man.
doesn't
Welcome
know
in.
that you're a bunch of crooked people. But they know, they've learned, and the media has to straighten out their act. You know, the media's down to 17% approval. You got to do a little better than that. It's important for the country that you do better. I think they ought to make a lot of changes. I think changes are going to be made to the media, but
To the media? Why are we still talking about the?
it's hard to
What do
have
you?
a really successful country if you have a corrupt media, and we really have a corrupt.
Okay,
media.
part of that's
Nobody
true.
Really knows why.
That part of
why
that's
would
true.
You want to have
I mean, your media
open
does
borders
lead the
and
thought of the people.
criminals pouring into our country.
But,
why would you want to
yo,
have
he's going
women
crazy.
playing in women's sports, transgender for everyone? You know,
Uh,
you'll have to figure that
okay.
out. But some of you don't. I mean, I'm looking at some people, they love the country, but I look at other people and they can't. But we're really proud of our military. It was, and the people that maybe don't like us or want to play games with us, because I think that
Who's gonna
had
ask
you
him
not
about
had the
Epstein?
situation in
That's what we wanna
Afghanistan,
know.
I don't think Putin would have gone in. I think when Putin looked at how stupid and incompetent that operation was, he said, "Wow, this might be a chance." And we're dealing with him now too. We're not happy with.
We're
Putin.
talking about
I'm not
Putin,
happy with
okay.
Putin.
He's
I
not
can
happy
tell you
with
that
Putin.
much right now, because he's killing a lot of people.
Yeah, they're in
lot
a
of them
war.
are his soldiers and their soldiers mostly. And it's now
Dude,
up to
his eyes are
7,000
red.
a week.
His eyes
And
are
I'm
as red
not
as
happy
mine.
with
Thank you,
Putin.
VK Gaming, for the sub on
Okay.
YouTube.
Any
Welcome in.
questions? Yes.
Look, me and Trump got the same color eyes right now.
Happy with Vladimir Putin. Is there
You're not
anything
finna
you
tell me
can
he didn't
do
just
to
smoke.
act on that feeling of
Well, I
unhappiness?
wouldn't be telling you. Don't we want to have a little surprise? You know, one of the things we did with the attack is that, and you asked that question. I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm in a rude because I'm looking at some of these crooked people up here.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm rude, but your question was asked very nicely.
What did she ask?
But one of the things we did is we went over every fact. We wanted to get every fact straight. We wanted to have the distance straight, the number of pilots straight, everything. had
Okay,
to
we're
be
still talking about
correct.
the
because
bombing.
We want to be. This was a very important mission. If we failed on this mission, it was beyond the war that. You know,
We'll find out if
obviously
he's on the
we had
list.
with Iran and Israel.
Someone's gonna
A lot
ask
of
him in this
hatred, a lot of
about
years and
the
years
Epstein
of
list.
hatred.
It's gonna happen. That's what we're
Centuries
waiting
of
on.
hatred. People have never seen anything like it. So we wanted to be correct with all our facts. So you know what I was doing is just asking. It would be great if the media would be correct with their facts. That's all we asked.
Okay, back to the media.
Go ahead. So finish it up.
Oh, yes. Just returning back to Russia, if there's anything that you would signal about your displeasure with them.
Well, I'm just look. I'm
Yeah, bro.
very
Everybody
happy
hits
with
your
them.
pins, because if
There's
your
no
eyes
reason
don't look
for
like
this.
mine or Trump's at the end of this, you are
It's,
not invited to the after party.
It's turned out to be tougher, but it's
Shamari,
only
thank you for the
tougher.
sub on YouTube. Welcome
And I
in.
will say the Ukrainians were brave, but we gave them
Okay,
the best
back on
equipment
Ukraine.
ever made. We gave them the anti-tank busters that knocked out tanks. I mean, you just aim them in the direction of the tank, and the tank is gone.
Explain a tank buster.
We gave
Okay.
them missiles, the latest and the greatest. They were able to shoot down a lot of things that would have normally wiped out. You know, probably would have been a very quick war. It would have been a war that lasted 3-4 days. But they had the benefit of unbelievable equipment. And Europe gave them to. We gave them far more because Biden shouldn't have done that. He should have equalized. We should have given him the same, or we should have given actually less than Europe. It affects Europe much more than us. But we're in there for over $300 billion. Europe's in there for over 100 billion, but still, Europe gave a lot. And I will say this, the Ukrainians, whether you think it's unfair that we gave all that money or not, they were very brave because somebody had to operate that stuff. And a lot of people I know wouldn't be operating it. They wouldn't have the courage to do it. So
It's
they fought
coming.
very
Don't worry.
bravely, but
There's going to be a
we
list
gave
on.
them
We're going to mention the list on
the
this.
best equipment in the
I've
world.
already
We
seen
make the
clips
best
being made of it, but
military
I
equipment
chose
by far.
not
There's
to
nobody
watch it
close.
so I
You
could
look
see it
at
with you
other
guys.
equipment from other countries, it's not even close. That's why everybody wants to buy our equipment, and that's why we're going to step up these contractors now that make
I'm just
it,
so
and they're
high that
brilliant.
y'all can't make me miss it. Y'all have to pay attention for
We
me.
have to step
Bev
them
Tucker,
up
thank you for the
and
sub
let
on
them
YouTube.
make it
Welcome in.
At a much higher rate. Unfortunately, we have to do that. But if you look at our Patriots, if you look at our Tomahawks,
I'm trying to lock
if you
in.
look at our, well, what we do with tanks is, you wouldn't want to be driving a tank. You would feel nice and secure.
You would want to
They
be
are
driving a tank
javelins, they
then.
call.
Oh, never mind. You
And
wouldn't.
I
Javelins
gave
are
them the
bad.
javelins. Remember they said Trump gave the javelins and Obama gave them sheets, right? They called Obama at that time.
He's mad
Barack
because
Hussein
Obama
Obama,
deported
yeah,
more
right.
people than he has in
Did a
his
terrible
presidency.
job. But that was a war that should have never happened, and a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of
Hey,
bullshit
Jen
thrown
Walls,
at
thank
us
you for the
by
sub on
Putin,
YouTube.
you wanna
And
know,
Charles
it's
DeLuca, thank
very
you for the
nice
sub on
all the
YouTube.
time, but it turns out to
Welcome
be
in.
meaningless.
Do you want to sanction him? Lindsey Graham has a sanctions bill.
I'm looking at it, yeah, no, I'm looking. The Senate is passing and passed very tough sanctions, but yeah, I'm looking at it.
Can you sign that?
It's an optional bill. It's totally at my option. They passed it totally at my option and to terminate totally at my option.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at it very strongly.
Yesterday you said you want to send more.
Go ahead, please.
The Council of Economic Advisors released a new report saying that imported goods have actually decreased in price from December
I know, it's not
through
amazing.
March. Well, my question is,
With the tariffs.
Well, the Fed chairman keeps saying that tariffs are going to cause price increases.
Are we
Are the
talking-
prices just not
Chairman
passed
of the
through?
Fed?
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Are the
You
prices,
do a better job than him.
are the prices just not passed through yet?
It really is a great
No, I
toupee.
think
It
what's
barely
happening
moves.
is everything's evening out. You know, when
That's
we
so funny.
charge, see, what people don't understand, the other countries have been charged, almost every country charges us tariffs. We had deficits with everybody for years, for decades. And we were like this big monolith that made bad deals with everybody. We rebuilt South Korea, we stayed there. It's okay, we rebuilt it, and we stayed there. And they pay us very little for the military. I got them to pay billions of dollars, and Biden then canceled it when he came in. I said to South Korea
Hey,
as an example.
Babak, thank you for the sub on
we do free
YouTube. Welcome
military,
in.
Essentially, very little. And I think you should pay us $10 billion a year.
Sorry if it doesn't catch some of you guys. There's too many people sub at the same time. It just doesn't catch them.
So I got three
Alice
phone
Smith
calls.
and Joan Burgess, thank you for
And
the sub on
I'm
YouTube. Welcome in.
I said, but next year we have to talk. And then we had a rigged
Chavo
election.
said he's
We
on a
never got
date
to
right now.
talk. And you know what
Yes,
Biden
sir.
did?
Get it.
They probably went to him and they
This
said,
man's on a
"Listen,
date every
Trump
night. I
treated
swear to.
us
Let me not say
terribly.
that on stream. I hope you got me
And
muted.
We shouldn't be paying anything," and he cut it down to nothing. So that's what happens. It's ridiculous. That's the other thing. We're talking to countries about contributing to the military, not only just paying more in NATO, but contributing. We have 45,000 soldiers in South Korea. We have 45,000 soldiers in Germany, 52,000 actually. And, that's a huge economic development for them. That's tremendous amount. That's like having a city. It's tremendous money for them, and it's a tremendous loss for us. So we're talking, in a very nice way, we're talking to them about it. It's very unfair. We supply the militaries to many very successful countries. I mean, South Korea is making a lot of money, and they're very good. They're very good, but, they should be paying for their own military.
President Trump, I ask you a
The
question.
amount of people, bro, that
Question.
call Trump good looking
Jerome Powell, and I have a question for the
in my
Attorney
stream
General.
is crazy.
Jerome Powell, who is pressuring to lower
He's like
interest
a
rates.
70-year-old
He's facing
politician.
accusations of lying to
Zoltan,
Congress,
thank you for the
which is
sub on
potential
YouTube.
crime
And
of
Christopher,
the
thank you for the
He
sub
should
on
resign
YouTube. Welcome
immediately.
in.
We should get somebody in there that's going to lower interest rates.
Do you want congressional
We're gonna
Why don't
lower
you go
interest
over his
rates with your
resignation?
subs. I'm gonna make sure you're on that list.
Republicans to investigate
Not the other list. The
Me,
list
I think he's terrible. I
of
think,
the
look,
lower interest
we're
rates.
I call him Too Late. T-O-O, Too Late, like Too Tall Jones for the Dallas
Who's
Cowboys.
Too Leg?
Right? Too Late. He's always late. But he wasn't late with Biden before the election. He was cutting him like crazy. It didn't help too much, did it? But he was cutting him like crazy before the election with Kamala and Biden. He was trying to get them in, I guess.
He's 83?
Recommended by somebody that worked.
He's almost 80.
I like you better.
If I could ask
Oh my goodness. I'm not gonna lie. Trump does look good for his age. Just like he doesn't look that old, but he's rich. He's got to have done something. Little Botox maybe.
Is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency the former labor secretary who was Miami U.S.
Let me fix
Attorney,
y'all's angle. I know you don't. Well, y'all
Alex
probably don't want to look at
Costa,
Trump
he
either. Let's look at her for a
allegedly said
minute.
that he did
Chad, you want to
work
look at
for
her?
an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did, and also could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the
Yeah, sure. If I
Pam,
could,
could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey
Holy
Epstein?
shit!
This guy's been
Wait,
talked about for years.
wait, guys, we got it. I have to
Second.
rewind. I didn't hear it. Is this the Epstein thing?
American or foreign intelligence agency, the former labor secretary who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did, and also could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
yeah, sure. If I
Pam,
could,
could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this.
I think we're
where
gonna get it.
Having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas.
Yeah,
It
to
just seems,
ask it during the Texas thing is
like a
crazy, but
desecration, but you go ahead.
that's
Sure,
crazy.
sure.
That's a crazy
First,
answer.
to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along
She's getting
with
mad, chat.
the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by the disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child
Yaki
porn
Kato,
is what
thank you
they
for the
were.
sub on
Never gonna be
YouTube.
released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent,
I don't like it when she says
I have no
that.
knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it. on
What
Epstein.
does that mean, bro? What does that mean?
August 1st, you said is the deadline. What incentives do countries have to negotiate? It seems that deadline keeps moving. It was April 2nd, now it's...
We didn't move, no. It's always been August 1st, that's when we're paying. A statement was put out today, and I put it out just to make it clear. It wasn't a change, it was August 1st. We don't change very much, every time we put out a statement, they say he made a change. I didn't make
Oh,
a
here we
change.
go.
Clarification, maybe. No.
What do we think,
August 1st
chat?
They pay. And everybody pays. Everybody
Do we
has
like
to
our
pay.
answer?
And the incentive is that they have the right to deal in the United States. If they don't want to, they don't have to pay. They don't have to deal here. But if they want to,
Yo, Tresh, thank you for the sub on
buy
YouTube.
and
Welcome in.
Make a lot of money and sell in the United States, they have to do that. If you go back and look at some of the good presidents, our country was the wealthiest, proportionately the wealthiest, from 1870 to 1913. It was an all-tariff country. We didn't have income tax. That came in in 1913. We had tariffs, and we had so much money we didn't know what to do with it. We had, we had a couple of presidents that were very, very strong. McKinley, I guess, more than anybody, but he was the tariff king. But he was very, very strong. It's sort of sad. He made a fortune for this country, became very rich, and then Teddy Roosevelt went out and vice president, and he spent the money. And they said Roosevelt was a great president. And let's say he was a great president, but the money was paid by McKinley with tariffs. Tariffs are charged by
All right, guys,
other
this poll is
countries
ending.
at levels
Everyone
that
thinks
are
Trump's on the
ridiculous.
Epstein list. I got
And
another
like
poll
all
coming
those
up.
other countries are and every one of them is willing
You guys are
to
gonna
give
like
us
this one.
everything now, by the way, just so you know. Sir, we'll charge you no tariffs, nothing. We'll give you everything. We'll give you access to our markets. We'll give you everything. Is that a correct statement, Scott?
Yes, sir.
Howard, would you say that's a correct statement?
Exactly correct.
It's like they just don't. Because they're very spoiled, because for years they ripped us off and we didn't have a president that understood it, or
Yo, John, thank you for the sub on
Secretary of Treasury
YouTube.
or
Welcome in.
Secretary of a lot of different secretaries are involved, but certainly Commerce Secretary was, not doing their job. I don't know about Kelly, she's small business, we'll keep it that way, okay? Her small business is bigger than almost all big businesses when you add it all up. But no, they are very respectful of our country, but the incentive is that they have the right to do business with us. Without that, they don't have the right to do business, and that would be okay too.
Who will you be voting for in 2028 if this was the lineup?
Here a flurry of deals that are
Yeah, we
finished.
have a lot of them going out, but the deals are mostly my deal to them. We're picking a number that's low. We don't want to hurt them, and fair. We're picking a number that's lower than, in most cases, lower than what they charged us. But it's amazing when you've paid all this money for years and they get one president that's a little bit different and a little tougher on this subject, and they're willing to drop everything they've been charging us for years and years. I mean, we have countries going, we will have you don't have to pay any tariff to come in and do
I
this.
do love theater. I was a theater
They're giving
major
us total access
in
to their
college.
countries. They gave us
Timothy.
no access to the country.
Yes, sir.
They'd say, well, you cannot go into our okay, good. Now we will give you total access and you don't have to pay any tariffs. But please don't charge us tariffs. And we don't like that deal. So the letters I send out are, we have made some deals. We can make a lot more deals. It's just too time consuming. It just makes it more complicated.
Lonely says vaping,
And we
bro.
can do
Come on,
things over the years,
guys.
too.
I looked at my audience
We're not
demographic.
hard
Half of my
line.
demographic probably
But
smokes
it's about
cigarettes.
time
I
the
should be
United
telling y'all to
States
pick the
of
vape
America
up.
started
If you
collecting
smoke
money
cigarettes,
from
drop them.
countries that were
This is much
ripping
better
us
for you.
off, ripping
So
us
far,
off and
we don't know.
laughing behind our back at how stupid we were. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. President, on the tariff issue, so you've talked about India coming, but then a couple days ago you issued a new tariff threat to members of the BRICS countries for
Yeah.
if they aligned with anti-American policies.
10% charge.
That would be India, Brazil,
That's
Russia,
right, they have to
South
pay
Africa.
10% if they're in BRICS. Because
Right.
BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar and take our dollar as the standard, take it off as the standard. And that's okay if they want to play that game, but I can play that game too. So anybody that's in BRICS is getting a 10%
Chat, it's all
charge.
bad.
Is that immediate, sir, or
Yeah,
is
it's
that
pretty
It's all
soon.
bad.
they engage in some behavior?
Well, if they're a member of BRICS, they're going to have to pay 10% tariff, just for that one thing, and they won't be a member long. I thought BRICS was, I said this about a year ago, and it largely broke up. But, there are a couple that hang around, but I thought it largely broke up. BRICS is not,
Yo,
in my
Zach,
opinion, not
appreciate
a
the sub on
serious step.
YouTube.
What
Welcome
they're trying
in.
to do is destroy the dollar so that another country can take over and be the standard. And we're not going to lose the standard at any time. If you have a smart president, you will never lose the standard. If you have a stupid president like the last one, you would lose the standard. You wouldn't have the dollar as you. And if we lost the world standard dollar, that would be like losing
This is
a
your
war,
Trump class.
a major world war.
Your
We would
teacher's
not
in
be the
front of
same
you.
country any longer. We're not going to let that
Try to
happen.
keep up. There's gonna
The
be a
dollar-
test.
You ever hear the expression "dollar is king"? The dollar is king. We're going to keep it that way, okay? And I'm just saying, if people want to challenge it, they can, but they're going to have to pay a big price. And I don't think any of them are willing to pay that price.
But does that jeopardize?
Thank you, Mr. President. Are you optimistic about reaching a tariff deal with the European Union soon?
Well, the European Union has been speaking to us, Ursula and the whole group, and they've been very nice. They treated us very badly until recently. Now they're treating us very nicely. It's like a different world, actually. They've treated us very badly. They were among the toughest to deal with. Actually, in many respects, they were much worse than China. Look at what they do to our companies.
Much worse than
sue
China.
Apple, they sue Google. 17 billion they got from Apple on a lawsuit that they didn't have a
Yo,
case.
17 billion.
They have, judges that are
17
European Union
billion?
judges.
That is a
And
lot.
they take so much money away from our country in terms of that, in terms of other things that they do. They're very tough, but now they're being very nice to us, and we'll see what happens. We're probably 2 days off from sending them a letter. We are talking to them. I just want you to know, a letter means a deal. You know, a lot of people said,
Huge.
We got 200 countries. We can't meet with 200
It's
countries. We have
huge.
a few trusted people that know what they're doing, that are doing a good job.
It's
but
going to be a big
you can't
letter.
do it. You have to do it in a
It's the
more
biggest
general
letter
way, but
that
it's a
I've
very
seen
good way.
personally. Have you seen a
It's
bigger
better
letter?
way. It's a more
She
powerful
hasn't.
way. And we sent him a letter. You read the letter. I think it was well crafted.
Everyone read the letter. It was a very good letter.
Mostly, it's just a little number in there. You'll pay 25%, 35%. We have some at 60, 70. Those are ones with massive.
Damn, he's
have massive
revealing
rate
some
deficits
numbers
'cause
here.
They've treated us very badly.
Damn.
But I would say in every case, I'm treating them better than they treated us over the years. Don't you agree with that? Would you say?
Damn. Who's he charging 60, 70% to?
I could have been much harsher. I don't want to do that. We want to have relationships, but in every case, they treated us far worse than I'm treating them. I'm treating them very good. I could go higher with the tariffs, but I don't want to hurt them. That's why when you just read it, you come up with the number. It's so incredible that prices are actually going down. Just so you know, when I got in, everyone said, "Oh, eggs are going through the roof." That was the first. I was in for about 4 days, and they started screaming at me.
Only
about
16% on
eggs. I didn't know
Elon
about
Musk's
eggs.
party.
But eggs went up about 5
Trump
times.
went in
He did a
again, I see.
Fantastic job. And we ended up shortly getting. In fact, for Easter, they said go out and buy plastic eggs. You can't use real eggs. Well, we bought 200,000 eggs for the White House for the Easter egg hunt that we have at the
He's
White House.
pulling
and there
numbers
were
out
eggs.
of his
We had the
ass.
price down, and now the price
Yeah,
is
okay.
lower than it was before.
68 is
We
crazy.
did a good job with eggs, but we did a good job with groceries. Our prices are down in this country. A big part of it's oil. The
How
oil
much
that
are eggs
have-
where you guys are?
you had a
Everybody
couple
comment
of,
how much
places
eggs
last
are
week,
for you.
had $1.99
Mine are still
for
like
oil for
$3.
gasoline.
Like $3, $4, not
Nobody
bad.
thought I'd see that. I want to get it lower if I can.
For a dozen.
But we've done a good job. You've done a very good job. Do you want to say a couple of words about that, you and Chris, about what's happening with energy?
Well, absolutely, but I would say on the pricing side, President Trump, the fact that you've endorsed and supported a policy of energy
Camera's
dominance,
moving.
that sends a signal to
She's
the market
sipping
that
tea.
we're going to have more supply. You talked during the campaign
He's having a
about
good time.
inflation being a country buster. You've broken the back of inflation in 6 months, among all the other things you've accomplished.
We have no inflation.
And we've got,
Stick my finger in his mouth, hold on.
the lowest gas prices at the pump in 4 years. And again, for Americans, this is like hundreds of billions of dollars that stay in their pockets because we lower the price of gas at the pump. But when we lower the price of energy, it lowers the price of food, it lowers the price of the clothes you wear.
It's the biggest thing.
It's the biggest thing.
It's like a big tax cut. When you get energy down,
Damn.
every
5, 7,
50 cents,
$5 to
it's
$6?
like a massive tax cut. And
Damn.
we've gotten it down much below that. You know, we had great energy, great low prices, everything else when the election.
$4.95 reasonable, I guess. I mean, that's right under 5.
Turned over.
$7 is crazy. $6 is crazy.
Energy started going up, and it went up really bad, and then he went back to the Trump policy. The problem was they didn't know how to do that, and he lost
That's insane.
it. He lost that sucker, that big
Down
sucker
from
was
what?
out
What
of
were they
control.
like?
And his energy prices
in the last
went way up,
administration?
and that's what caused it. But it was also stupid spending. They spent money like, they used to use the term drunken sailors, but I won't use that term. Although it is very descriptive, I won't use that term. I refuse to use it. But they spent money at levels that nobody had ever seen before.
Free share bear. You got
Trillions and
chickens.
trillions of dollars wasted on the Green New Scam, greatest scam in the history of our country, other than maybe Russia, that might have been. But the Green New Scam was the single greatest scam in the history of our country, and continues to be, but it's weakened badly. It's hobbling along because people are they're finally getting it. But they spent trillions of dollars on the Green New Scam, getting nothing for it. Devised by a couple of young people that weren't even good college students, you know? Not even good students. Check out
Not
their
even.
marks. Yeah? No, not for CNN.
Not for CNN.
In the last jobs report, Mr. President, in the last jobs report, the manufacturing jobs actually lost 7,000 jobs. When will the investments that you've been talking about have an effect
Well,
on
they're
manufacturing?
building the plants now. About 7 have
Okay.
started. We're going to have hundreds started within a short period of time. Lee Zeldin, who may be the most important man in this room, I'm sorry, but he's the one that gets the permits, whereas he's the one that has to get the permits for the plants and the
This
factories.
was
and
live
the
like
permits
8
that used
hours
to take
ago.
5
This
years.
happened today.
He's getting in record-setting times. AI, we're leading China a lot in AI, and if we go with this, I'm allowing the plants to build their own electric. I'm allowing them to become an electric utility, so they can produce their own electricity, because we need double to be successful with AI, which is the biggest thing now. We need double the electricity that we have, which is hard to believe.
And I will say that Elon is building a hub
and they're building plants with their own electricity
in a city near me,
substations.
and
They
it's
don't have
crazy to
use the
see
grid.
for AI.
And anything they build extra, they're putting into the grid. So we're supplying the grid with brand new electric sources. And it's funny, when they came to see me, they never even asked for that. I told them about it. The reason they didn't, they thought that was an impossibility. You're not allowed to build your own electric. These are massive investments that are being made in building electricity for their plants. And they're going to have, I think, Doug, a lot of electricity left over. And that electricity is going to be passed into the grid and give us no more, like you look at California, they have blackouts and brownouts every week. They're totally out of control. They have a really incompetent governor. Where's Chris? Is he here? Do you want to speak to the subject?
Yeah, I think a huge thing in the one big beautiful bill, Mr. President, because of your leadership.
Are you talking about
is
me,
the ending
hamster,
of
or
these
Trump?
Subsidies, as you call them, the Green New Scam. That saves our country $500 billion over the next 10 years. But American taxpayers were paying twice. They were paying that money, $500 billion in the subsidies, and they were paying more expensive electricity price. If you subsidize something, you should at least lower the cost of it. But in this case, we were subsidizing something and paying more for it. So the one big beautiful bill had two huge things: ending wasteful spending. Wind, solar, and batteries combined are 3% of U.S. total primary energy. 3% for $1 trillion, another $500 billion coming. It's just not a good investment, hurting our businesses, hurting our consumers. And the one big beautiful bill also unshackled oil, gas, and coal development in the United States, onshore and offshore. Secretary Burgum has been working tirelessly on how, by getting the government out of the way, private businesses will develop more resources in the United States, lowering costs for American consumers and making much better leverage for the United States to help our allies abroad and reduce the power of our adversaries abroad. So just a huge win on the energy front all around, and I thank you for your leadership.
We're setting records now on energy, and there'll be nothing compared to what they'll be in about a year from now. But we're setting records, and wind is a very
You guys like
expensive
Trump's
form of
haircut?
energy. It's very bad for your beautiful surroundings, the plains and the valleys, and the birds are dying all over the place. The whole thing is a disaster. They're almost exclusively made in China. Not that I have anything against China, because they're very ugly. And if you own a house that's inside of a windmill, your house is worth less than half. And you hear noises. And interestingly, in New England, you probably read, where for 50 years they had 2 whales washed up. 50 years. And last summer, they had 14 washed up.
Whales,
Now,
okay.
I'm not saying that's the wind farm that was built, but maybe it is, right?
How are the wind
Probably
farms
is.
blowing whales onto the
It's,
surface
tremendously expensive.
of land?
And it can only be done with subsidy. I know a man that's in that business, and one of the biggest in the world
Terasadon.
actually runs a company that builds these stupid windmills. And he said, I hate the business because it's the only energy where you need subsidy. He said, energy shouldn't need subsidy. You should make money with energy. So wind. The other one is the solar, those big solar fields. They're taking our farmland. Our farmers are like mortified by it. They hate it. It's very, very inefficient and very ugly too. Probably better than a windmill, but you go around and you see all these things that are 3 miles long by 3 miles wide, and you say, what the hell is that? And it's a lot of plastic from China. It's plastic, black plastic from China. Now, we want to be smart. We're going with, look, China right now is building 58 coal-fired plants, 58 big ones. They have 62 on the books to build. We've reintroduced clean, beautiful coal, because you can do a lot with coal now. Clean, beautiful coal, and natural gas, and all of the other things that we have. But we don't want wind, and we don't want solar. because they're a blight on our country. They hurt our country very badly, and smart countries don't use it.
Solar?
Solar sounds good, I will say, and I like on
Yeah.
occasion you'll see a roof which is made out of solar brick, but it's a smaller use.
Solar brick is
We need the kind
genius.
of thing that's going to fire up our plants, and it's not going to be wind. You know, that is very intermittent, as you probably know. But they've spent a fortune. They've spent trillions of dollars on this stuff, and I'll just give you one other story. A friend of mine is a very successful guy. He went back to see his mother in Minnesota. Hadn't seen her in a long time. And he wasn't back for 10 years, which isn't a nice story. I mean, you don't see your mother for 10 years. She's got some difficulties, which I know the guy, he does have some difficulties.
Share Bear.
He's
Get
very
your brother,
successful,
Terror
but
Bear. He's going
probably
crazy.
Not the nicest person. It was actually longer than 10 years, but he went back and he told me he wanted to go and look at the valley. There's a valley in Minnesota that he thought was so beautiful. And I hadn't seen it in a long time. He's driving along the road and said, oh my, I'll use the word gosh, oh my gosh.
Oh my
So-
gosh.
Oh, he said it looked like a junkyard. You had 159 windmills. They were all over the place. Some were old, some were newer, different companies, different shapes, different sizes, different colors. Many of them were terminated. Terminated meaning closed. You can't take them down because the environmentalists don't let you bury the blades because they're made out of a fiber they say is bad for the earth. So they want you to put them up, but they don't let you take them down. But many of them were turned off. He said it looked like a junkyard. Go to Palm Springs, California, and take a look
Terror,
at
what a
that
swap
pile
up.
of junk. You
One
go into a
message
wealthy
before,
neighborhood,
Terror
before you get
says,
there, you
I
have to
submit
ride
to Big
through
Orange Daddy
hundreds
Trump.
of windmills
Next
there.
message, they say,
Most
do
of them were
Republicans
turned
not
off, they're
understand how
rotting, they're
windmills
rusting,
work?
they're 30 years
Whose
old,
side are you
20 years
on?
old. And they have a very short life. You know, those windmills have a very short life, especially the ones that are in the nice salty Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean where the salt just gets under that steel and decimates it. Now, it's a horrible, horrible thing for our country. And I speak out. It would be nice to say wind, because it sounds so good, doesn't it, Doug? Wind, wind. But it's not. It's these ugly machines, and they're all made, you gotta see, some are a little taller, a little shorter. They're made by different companies. They have different stocks. They have different blades. They have different everything. It is so horrible. And if you look at smart
Gold, what are you
countries,
going to
they
do
don't
with
use it.
1,500 gallons of water
And we're
and
not
a
smart
silo
country.
full of
We're not
tortillas?
We're a brilliant country.
You sound like Trump right
We're not
now.
smart. We're brilliant now. We're going to be a brilliant country. We have to be because we have to catch up for some really stupid people that did a bad job. Yes, Brian?
Yes, Mr. President, I've got a quick comment, some feedback as a native Texan, someone that I grew up bringing my kids to a camp very near the affected camp now. Thank you on behalf of Texas. I've gotten hundreds of messages that want to thank. It's if you're in the cabinet room, you can tell the president and his team on behalf of Texans, thank you so much for the quick response and the loving, the hugs. I saw that you gave. Two quick questions.
I saw a Palestinian senator. His name is Schumer. He's a great Palestinian. No, he's a Palestinian. He's become a Palestinian. He's abandoned the Jews. But I saw him say, it's Trump's fault. Yeah, that's right. It's Trump's fault. He was actually, do you ever see John Lovitz, The Liar? Where he goes, yeah, I went to Harvard. That's right. This was Schumer. He goes, yeah, it's Trump's fault. That's right, it's Trump. I actually saw that stupid guy try and blame it on me, and I said, man, that's a tough one to take. But his career is limited because I hear AOC is going to beat him, and she's no bargain either, by the way. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying that's an example of an America First team effort to get this country back. So that's what America First looks like for the viewers watching us at home. My two questions. Looks like we have a rogue judge, an Obama-backed rogue judge that is attempting to block the funding to Planned Parenthood, which the big, beautiful bill cuts off the funding to Planned Parenthood. Any plans to challenge that?
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yes, we're on it. We're on it. And I texted, I believe, I talked to yesterday Secretary Lutnick and Secretary Besson. I reached out to you to let you know that we were on it in the big, beautiful bill.
Wonderful. And then my
I
second.
let her handle that question. You notice? I said, go ahead, handle that question.
Toss it to her. Then my second question was Secretary Rollins. You did an amazing press conference today in front of the Department of Agriculture. You talked about the Farm
Chat,
Act
what
and
if
the
I
need to
ordered a
get
Trump
China
wig
out of our
and did a
country,
stream
owning
dressed as
farmland?
Trump?
For the viewers
Did you guys
at home
like
might have
that?
missed that. Can you recap what that means to national security? To
Should we make that
grow
happen?
our own food?
Well, thank you, Brian, sir, if you don't mind. Yes, this morning Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Nome, and Attorney General Bondi and I had a press conference at the USDA. I just happened to have a chart in case it came up, but obviously the Chinese owning of farmland in our country is a massive national security issue. And for the media, you can see the yellow is where all of the farms have been purchased over the last number of years, and the red is around all of the military bases where that farmland has been purchased. So this is a massive national security issue. The press conference this morning included 3 of our greatest governors as well, Sarah Sanders from Arkansas, Jim Pillen from Nebraska, and Bill Lee from Tennessee. The states have begun taking a leadership role to ban the purchasing of China farmland. Obviously, Congress needs to step up and catch up, and we're going to be working alongside of them as well. We had some of our members, great members of Congress there, but it is time. And I think that this morning was symbolic of many things. The first of this administration working every day to effectuate President Trump's leadership and unequivocal support of America First. But second, just how close we are as a cabinet. I don't know in any other administration that you'd have 4 cabinet members at the USDA on a Tuesday morning when it's about 110 degrees outside with the sun beating down on us talking about, sir, your vision. So I think it was a great day. It was just the start. There's an executive order coming and some other things coming behind that. But protecting America's farms isn't just about protecting our farmers. It's also about national security. So that's what we discussed this morning.
I do want to say that I think we have had a really good relationship with China lately.
All right, back to China.
And,
This
getting
man
along
Lowe's had to
very
stay on the
well.
topics that he knows.
They've been very fair on our trade deal, honestly. And I hope we're going to have a great relationship. It's a big, strong, powerful country. We're more powerful than they are. We have much better military equipment than they do. But we are getting along with them very well. I'm getting along with President Xi very well. We speak often. And with all of that being said, and I understand what you're saying, but I think we're getting along with China very well.
Mr. President, you are sending more weapons to Ukraine, as you said last night. Last week, the Pentagon paused some shipments of weapons to Ukraine. Did you approve of that pause?
We want to put defensive weapons because Putin is not, he's not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
So who ordered the pause last week?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
I think that's a question for the
Go ahead.
Mr.
Yeah.
President, on immigration, the Secretary, the Agriculture Secretary, did say this morning that undocumented workers would not be covered by any amnesty of who are working on farms. You had said maybe that the ISA folks won't go after those folks on farms. So which is it?
There's no amnesty. What we're doing is we're getting rid of criminals, but we are doing a work program. Do you want to explain that, please?
Yeah, this morning we talked about, of course, this was a top of mind question. This morning we talked about protecting the farmers and the farmland.
Hey,
but obviously
Anton,
this
thank you for the
president's
sub on
decision of
YouTube. Welcome in.
No amnesty, mass deportation continues, but in a strategic way, and then ensuring that our farmers have the labor that they need. Secretary Chavez-DeRimmer has been a leader on this. Obviously, this comes out of the Labor Department, but moving toward automation, ensuring that our farmers have that workforce.
Aw,
and moving
thanks,
toward an
Patriot.
American workforce. So all of the above.
We'll let that 83-year-old man beat me this time.
But we're not talking amnesty. Laura, do you want to say something about
Yeah,
that?
thank you, Mr. President. On this, thank you, Secretary Rollins, how important this is never to displace the American worker. What the Department of Labor is doing is focusing on what the law entails now, being more modernized, more streamlining, to work through the H programs. We're going to have a concierge approach to that, where we have developed a new office to answer the need of our farmers and ranchers and producers, and not to displace the American worker and follow within the law now, and that does not include an amnesty program at all. And we've seen that working, and we'll continue to have that roll out. On the other topics that we've somewhat talked about, the jobs numbers, Mr. President, 4 months in a row, we've seen those jobs numbers increase. That's an exciting time for our manufacturers. That was asked earlier. We know it's going to take some time, but through that deregulation process that Lee and I are working on as well, the Department of Labor has rolled out 63 new deregulations that we're going to be moving through. In the first Trump administration, it was successful with over 30. We've just rolled out 63 new ones in order to double down on those manufacturing companies to let them know that we have signaled through this process that we will assist them in getting the workforce that they need. It's an exciting time. That one big beautiful bill, that was the signal to my former colleagues in Congress to get this done. It's been an important time. I spent time on the ground visiting 7 states in 9 days prior to that bill being passed because it was the most pro-worker piece of legislation that we will ever see really in this country right now. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. That matters to the American worker because we don't want to take their money and give it back. We want them to keep more of their hard-earned dollars in their pockets currently, and that's what they're excited about. And as I move forward with those tariff talks, I heard a company, orthopedic company in Indiana, say to me, for the first time since you have taken office, Mr. President, their increase in their bottom line by 8% since these tariff talks have happened. Not one company has said the president is not doing a good job. These tariff talks are working. They're feeling it on the ground. The media has told a false story because what's happening on the ground is positive, and that's what we're seeing in these jobs numbers. So I really, through the Department of Labor, to come in behind all the secretaries and build this workforce is going to be key to the American worker. So thank you for what everybody did this last week. The One Big Beautiful Bill is a doubling down of this, and we're going to see these workers start to grow. And that apprenticeship program is going to be working.
That's
we'll
right.
have that million apprentices across the country.
We, as you know, we're building plants all over the country now, which you weren't building any plants 4 years ago. You weren't building anything. But those plants, when they open up, it's going to be, you'll see numbers like you haven't seen ever. I don't think in history you'll never see numbers like what we're going to see in the very near future. Many of them are building the plants. Some are just starting right now. You know, it's a brand new administration. But, and they wouldn't be here except for 2 things. November 5th, the election, and the tariffs. And frankly, I guess the election was more important because of the tariffs. I mean, another person wouldn't have done this. But they're coming in because of the tariffs. They have to, they're not going to pay 25, 30, 40, 50%, 70, and 100%. And we'll be announcing something very soon on pharmaceuticals. We're going to give people about a year and a half to come in, and after that they're going to be tariffed if they have to bring the pharmaceuticals into the country, the drugs and other things into the country. They're going to be tariffed at a very, very high rate, like 200%. We'll give them a certain period of time to get their act together. But they were all here now. They all left. They went to other places because we allowed people that sat in this room allowed it to happen. And I don't allow it to happen. The people in this room don't allow it to happen. So we're going to be announcing pharmaceuticals, chips, and various couple of other things, you know, big ones. We did steel, as you know, they're 50%. We did aluminum, 50%. Lumber just came out.
Why don't you announce copper?
And we did cars. And now, today we're doing copper.
Copper, what would that tariff be on? The sectional tariff?
I believe the tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
50%.
Any breakthroughs in
See, I'm glad he
Gaza?
didn't question it.
Any breakthroughs?
I sort of thought, what would that be? Just a quick one. I didn't have much time, but he agreed with me. That's why he's Howard. Right?
Any breakthroughs on Gaza with the Prime Minister, and there's reports that you're meeting with Netanyahu again tonight. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he's going to come over again tonight. We're talking about Gaza, mostly Gaza right now. It's he's been very unfairly treated. I think what they've done to him in Israel is very unfair, having to do with this trial. I think, you know, he's a wartime prime minister, had an unbelievable outcome, and I think he's been treated very unfairly. But he's coming over later. We're going to be talking about, I would say, almost exclusively Gaza. We got to get that solved. Gaza is a tragic. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. And he wants to get it solved, and I want to get it solved, and I think the other side wants to get it solved. Steve, could you talk on that, please?
We're in proximity talks now, and we had 4 issues, and now we're down to 1 after 2 days of proximity talks. So we are hopeful that by the end of this week, we will have an agreement that will bring us into a 60-day ceasefire. 10 live hostages will be released, 9 deceased will be released. We're meeting at the President's direction with all the hostage families to let them know. And we think that this will lead to a lasting peace in Gaza.
And you're doing a good job. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. A lot of hate, you know, it's called long-term hate. But we think we're going to have it solved pretty soon, hopefully with a real solution, a solution that's going to be holding up.
And can I follow up? This is, I think, the first cabinet meeting since Elon Musk has not been a special government employee, not here anymore. He's now saying he's going to create a third political party. Are you worried about the impact that that
Okay,
could have?
guys, we are over our update hour, and also I forgot that I have plans coming up in the next like 10 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and have to end stream for today. If you stuck around this long, thank you. We will pick back up tomorrow and finish